You know perfectly well what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, which food is healthy, which food isn't healthy, how to balance your diet, how many protein you should have. But something keeps going wrong. You fall off the wagon, you lose motivation, you just start craving something delicious, and then you find yourself eating without being physically hungry and overeating, sometimes to discomfort. And often the issue is not food itself. The problem is that your nervous system is constantly overwhelmed and your brain is simply trying to find the fastest way to soothe itself. Does it sound familiar? In this video, you will discover real reasons for not being able to lose weight. And I am Olga Onoshenko, psychotherapist, nutritionist, personal trainer, and PhD. And I think that you will benefit greatly from subscribing to this channel, because this is where I share very useful information, and this information helps my subscribers lose weight and build better relationships with yourself. So if you regularly feel the urge to eat in the absence of physical hunger, this may be a sign of dysregulation, a state of physical or emotional exhaustion, tension, or loss of so-called internal balance. Why this can happen? First, emotional overwhelm. When anxiety, anger, sadness, shame feel too intense to handle. For example, you had a fight with your partner and at night you're reaching for ice cream or snacks even though you are not hungry. Second, emotional numbness or disconnection. You feel checked out, disconnected, and very often it feels like you are running on autopilot. For example, you're scrolling on your phone, watching Netflix, YouTube, snacking mindlessly, and later you don't even notice how the tub of Haagen-Dazs, Ben & Jerry is gone. You don't remember how this happened. Very often people describe it as if this was not them doing it. Third, physical or emotional fatigue. When you are too drained to control anything. For example, after a hard working day, you not just are not able, do not have resource to cook healthy, delicious meal. All you can do is to grab something from the freezer or fast food. 4, chronic stress. It's a sort of stress that never fully resolves. Sometimes something happens, we stress greatly, we lose appetite, but then we recover and may get hungry. But this happens occasionally. Or you went for an intense workout, you received your stress, and this is a good stress, and afterwards you recovered and everything is good and nice again, and you are in a balanced state again. But sometimes people get into chronic stress. For example, living in constant uncertainty. You're worried about news, you're worried about your financial stability, your job, your relationships. You're overwhelmed taking care about your children and elderly parents. So food becomes one very reliable pleasure. 5, sleep deprivation. When it becomes your normal. For example, you sleep 5 hours a night and then next day you crave sugar, you drink coffee to somehow survive and get on with your day, just to function somehow. Not talking about blood sugar dysregulation after a couple of days of lack of sleep. 6, sensory overstimulation, too much noise, too much screen time, light, information. After a noisy day in the office or doom scrolling, you just want snacks, Netflix and silence. 7, hormonal fluctuations, especially in women, PMS, perimenopause, thyroid issues. For example, before your period, you feel irritable, you crave chocolate, you're desperate for carbs, you're constantly hungry, you're bloated, and super moody. Of course, it's hard to control your food intake during such days, and at least being aware of it, that yes, now my hormones influence even the way I think, this may help greatly. Awareness, acceptance, and thinking in terms of self-support rather than trying to self-discipline. And eighth, prolonged restriction and dieting under big calorie deficit, because under eating for a long time, it is stressful. So if you stick to diet for 2-3 weeks, then you binge. It very often doesn't mean that you binged because you didn't allow yourself to eat something. That's because that tension accumulated. And in these moments, we are often told to regulate nervous system through grounding strategies, such as breathing techniques, for example, rectangular breathing, 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts breathe out, 4 counts hold. Or it can be inhale and then longer exhale. And many other different breathing techniques. Sometimes just breathing and noticing what's changing in your body while you're breathing. It can be gentle movements such as walks, yoga, stretching. It can be doing something creative, listening to music, painting, drawing, reading, mindful pauses to check in with your emotions, connecting with people who feel safe to be around, maybe hugging, maybe calling a friend, quality sleep, regular satisfying meals, balanced meals, and regular physical activity. This is all amazing, and sometimes this helps. But if your daily life constantly pushes you out of balance, you're likely to return to food as your main coping tool, and you have to do box breathing every half an hour. Or my coping strategy is running 20 minutes, minimum 20 minutes of moderate intensity, high intensity cardio, and this helps me to self-regulate. This is one of the tools I discovered in my personal therapy. Therapists need therapists, not only supervision but therapy as well, because sometimes it is hard to distance yourself emotionally from the situation. So it was a breakthrough in my therapy to find that running can be an adaptive coping strategy in the moments I feel dysregulated and my thoughts get focused on food. And if my context of life is stressful, if I'm constantly dissatisfied with my life, or if my life constantly stresses me out, if I constantly feel discomfort, it means that I need to go on a treadmill very, very often. And this is very inconvenient, and this is just a symptom of something much deeper going on with my life. I'm talking about situations like feeling stuck or unfulfilled in your work, or huge workload and not enough financial remuneration. Living with constant self-criticism and perfectionism. And by self-criticism here, I mean self-attacking, not constructive self-criticism that helps us develop, but really cruel internal inner dialogue, and not allowing yourself to make a mistake without beating yourself up. So punishing yourself for every mistake or imperfection. Constant sense of I'm not enough as a person, a partner, professional, or in your body. Difficulty setting or defending your boundaries. No emotional safety in your relationships. Having to keep it together or stay silent. Living on autopilot without freedom, without autonomy or fulfillment. Being in toxic or codependent relationships. Carrying unresolved trauma or learn long-term stress, even if it is in the past. Background anxiety about the future, what will happen with the world, financial instability, fear of loneliness, fear of not fitting in, and so on. Maybe some existential issues, or just a chronic dissatisfaction with yourself, your body, and your life. Notice, chronic dissatisfaction with your body is just one of many factors that can cause problems. So I would not focus solely on body image when we talk about improving relationships with food. We need to look at a whole picture, because there is a trend now of working with body image if you have problems with relationships with food. But my point of view is that body image is just a part, one piece of a puzzle. It's not the whole story. Although sometimes, yes, sometimes our relationships with our bodies can be the only thing where something is wrong. But these are really rare cases. This doesn't happen often. So, if your life is a source of constant stress and dissatisfaction, self-regulation becomes a survival need. And very often food is only accessible form of relief. And we know that this relief does work. It does help us to self-soothe, because it does calm down that ingestion of food. Enough calories, enough volume helps us to calm down, our nervous system to calm down. This is how our bodies work. But this is short term. And this may aggravate problem, because we may feel shame for having this food. I wasn't hungry, but I had it. We may feel dissatisfied with ourselves. We may self-attack once again. And this only adds to this snowball of stress and threat. And threat can be external or internal. External, a demanding, unfair boss, or emotionally unavailable partner, or it can be internal stress, such as putting pressure on yourself to lose weight, such as not accepting yourself, such as self-loathing. This is internal pressure. That's why I believe that when it comes to emotional eating, disordered appetite, or weight struggles, psychotherapy is more important than nutrition knowledge. Because unless we change inner and outer conditions we live in, no eating plan will ever feel right enough. So I'd like to invite you to psychotherapy with me. Please fill in application form below. I'd like to invite you to join my Instagram channel, where I show how I eat and train and cope with stress from the position of self-compassion and self-support. I hope this video was useful for you. Please comment, ask questions under this video, send this video to whom it can be useful. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and I'll see you soon.